remember in like way back in the infancy of YouTube, we had these things called video responses. I don't know if some of you are old enough to remember that. I was an early adapter, so I was a child, but I had it in mind to do like a reaction video to this amazing work of art and sort of make it be like a real-time video response. Allow me to explain. This is a piece of, I believe it's video art of the highest caliber, by the channel Duffy. It says basically this video will be deleted on the 28th of February, which is when, you know, the big planetary parade is coming where all the planets align. So I thought that was interesting and fortuitous. I don't know if it was intended or anything like that, but that's the beauty of these types of works of art. The intentionality is not so much as important as the interpretation. And the comment section I found was very beautiful. And it's connected to why I have all these butterflies on me right now. The ephemeral nature of media in our day and age, I felt, is reflected very beautifully in this magnificent work of art that I think, you know, and I don't think I'm alone in thinking this, I think it should be preserved for posterity. And a lot of people have saved this video on the Wayback Machine, and of course I've screen recorded the entire thing, and I'm doing a video response to this as I watch in real time. So this is a reaction video, a video response video, take it as you will, in which I want to celebrate the ephemerality of media in our day and age, and also to ring in a eulogy for an era, right? An epoch has passed us by, maybe even without us knowing it, really. This is a traditional Korean article of clothing that we wear generally for funerals, but it's like a celebration of life type of situation, right? Where you bid farewell to an epoch and you celebrate its ephemerality as well. I've been an avid YouTube viewer for a very long time, and I've tried my hand at creating YouTube for quite some time now. I've nuked a couple channels in the past. Some of them did get quite big. I was actually watching a Tom Scott video from about 2 years back, earlier in the day. It was like him showing him facing his fears of riding the roller coaster. I think some of you might know what I'm talking about. But it struck a chord in me because it made me realize that I really do have to face this fear of not being able to follow through, which often turns into like a self-sabotaging, self-fulfilling prophecy. And I also need to face this fear of opening myself up in as authentic a way as possible to unspecified, unidentified groups of people on the internet. I love you all. I really do. There is a uniqueness to this moment in time that we must celebrate together, and this is what I can do to honor it. Just putting this out there, this is not like a normal, typical YouTube reaction video. I'm experimenting with form and function, and I also think this video deserves something a little different. This is archival in as much as anything can be archival in terms of the purpose of my filming this reaction. And so this is the video in its entirety, and we'll be experiencing it together. Not for the first time. I watched it at least 3 times in a row, and I was letting myself feel all these feelings. But what was interesting, and this is true of most amazing works of art, is the more I watched it, every time it was different. And so I want to be able to convey that somehow in this run-through.
Program on therapeutic fiber was
head to Broadway by way of all boxing.
Therapeutic fiber.
The whole project will collapse.
Boxing, the whole
And
project.
it's so amazing when people tell me that electronic
And
music
then
has not caught
we
souls,
have
and they
Bjork.
blame the computers. They
An
got the
interview with
finger and
Bjork
point at the computers
talking
like,
about not
"There's
blaming
no
the
soul
computers."
here." It's like you can't blame the computer.
And
If
how
there's not soul in the music, it's because nobody put it there.
the soul in the music has to
And
be
it's
put there
not
by
the
someone.
tool's fault.
And it's not the tool's fault. Futura minimum. The minimal future. And then we start with the small. I'm assuming it's small because of the what do you call it? The bit frame rate. And then we have some beautiful ambient music swelling. the scaffolding, I don't know what the technical term is, but it's coming off of the spaceship, the sides of the ship as it begins to launch. What might this symbolize? It could symbolize a number of things. Maybe it symbolizes how the androids are beginning to dream of electric sheep, how electronic fiber optic technology, computers and electronic music and the like, are starting to develop independent of humanity. We're now in the age of artificial intelligence. What else could it mean? The rocket is launching now. I mean, it's also significant that we're watching this in the Technicolor back when color television was still relatively new. Everything felt new. The media landscape was so different with what is now referred to as legacy television, legacy media. And the ship combusts in a fireball. Right? This great new dawn that this technology was supposed to take us in the direction of. Turns out it wasn't a sunrise, it was a fireball. And it imploded on us. And there were real casualties. Right? The little bits and pieces of the ship falling at different rates, hurtling towards the Earth through the atmosphere, burning up, spiraling. You're free to leave now because, yes, attention spans are quite short now, and maybe that was the entire message. Now we're trapped in some sort of cosmic void of fractals folding in on each other and themselves. Again, beautiful, beautiful, haunting atmospheric music, spiraling and twisting and turning Fibonacci sequences. Fractals. What could this be? Is it like what the astronauts saw? In that threshold place? In that door jam place? Between this life and the next? Between the cosmos and the Earth and atmosphere? The dark line is spiraling. Is that clockwise or counterclockwise? I mean, everything's spiraling and moving. Centrifugal motion. Collapsing in on itself like maybe the shutter frame of a camera, maybe the hands of a clock, maybe the relentless pull of time. Space-time folding in on itself. A singularity? Is it a black hole? Right, the Twilight Zone? Who knows? The spokes of an umbrella, perhaps. Myriad things. Salvador Dali, melted clocks. You know what's interesting? When I stare, well, I don't stare. I like to sometimes look up at the sun. With my eyes closed, of course. Just tilt my face up toward the sun when the sun is particularly high and warm and inviting. And I like to feel its warmth on my face. And through my closed eyelids, I'll see something like this. Is it a mandala? Is it the golden ratio? Is it one of those ancient nautical shells that people find in fossilized form. Who knows? Who knows? What I do know is it's beautiful. And the music is just as ethereal. With the paisley fractals, the shards closing and unfolding, closing and unfolding, almost like machinery. It's hauntingly elegant, and the strings reflect these vibrations. You can't quite make out these forms. Now we have a sacred flower, perhaps. What is geometry? What would Euclid think of this? You can't help but wonder. What would Euclid think of us? Do these images, do these spiraling, formless forms signify some sort of Platonic world of forms, perhaps? Formless void. Somewhat Bonaventurian. Formlessness in form, smoke vapor. And yet so structured. White, black, and almost like little neurons connecting, and then we have windows. Like the 90s images back in the infancy of the internet. Like maybe earlier that was what the fiber optic cables saw. And then we have, maybe this is like the information highway, right? Picking up speed, careening down the road, zipping up and down the roads illuminated with orange night lights. And then static moving horizontally across the screen. Ooh, this makes me feel things. Sunlight. It's glitched because the exposure has been played around with. We've all played around with exposure before in our early days of editing experiments. Is this night or day? We don't know. We don't know. What we thought was the sun might have been the moon, might have been a different light source. But this takes us really back to another time. Maybe the mid or late 90s? The early 2000s? Who knows? Trees, color, sky, light through a window, light on waves, overlay, maybe a train or a bus. Oh, the sunlight through trees. Oop, error, is it? And now I feel like this is an echo of what we saw earlier. The white formless lights and shapes have now become some kind of waterfall? Is it a waterfall or a petal? An array of petals, like a chrysanthemum type of configuration. I can't tell, but it's beautiful. And the swelling of the sounds. It's electromagnetic in terms of how these particles and these shapes and these configurations intertwine symmetrically and otherwise, and in parts it's starting to look like a tree. It's sacred geometry over and over and over again. Sometimes it looks like neurons, sometimes it looks like cells, biology. sometimes like canyons, like waves, like roads, maps, and then again, sparks, quarks, neutrons, and then we're back at a much more high-def version of the same fractal formlessness of the void that was with form and yet formless. Prima materia, perhaps. Well, this is an experience. It's ineffable, which is why it is art. And we have a video editor. Is that Adobe? I've used so many editors and I'm starting to lose track of what each editor looks like, but I think that's, yeah. Ooh. Rudimentary buildings, maps, light, abstractions, experiments, rough textures, basement pipes, skull mask, hooded, and then fluctuations, graphics, and all of a sudden, we're thrust into loud ambient noise on a street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 sparkling lights. That doesn't mean anything, I just counted it. It looks to be the blurred night landscape of a highway seen from afar. And then just normal, unedited raw footage of cars, a suburban home, and is that the sun or lava or something being swallowed up? Almost looks organic. And now we're at white lines, cubicles, and when a computer and its users interact at a pace, etc., etc. Looks like a car or a bullet of some sort being designed. That looked like radar. The chassis of something being designed, right? 3D in its infancy, developing, and that looks like a radar detection system, definitely. Oh no, it's a design, once again, okay. So the many uses of technology, 3D, computer, digital, and once again we have a very achingly familiar, unaltered footage of someone taking a walk through maybe old growth, maybe suburban, because I see power lines and then light flickering in and out. Bokeh lights, I think they were called at one point in the Shutterstock universe. Now there's so much stock film footage of everything. Does it mean anything anymore? When we ascribe physicality and motion and time frames to these things. This is the kind of geometrical glitch that used to really affect me back in the day, in a positive way. It tickles all the right parts of my brain, the nerd in me that likes this kind of structure and how interlocked everything is, but at the same time it appeals to the human, organic part of me that yearns for that emotional intensity and the messiness. And we see that, the jellyfish going up and down. Is it smoke? Is it flames? There were red flames earlier. Maybe this also connects thematically, because we saw it, this figure, this 𝚒𝚗𝚃, floating over some kind of cosmic landscape. Maybe it's the moon, maybe it's Mars. This connects thematically with the spaceship that we saw combusting. And now we're tweaking, using our little mouse to tweak all these parameters. That's the thing about mourning and being conscious of, allowing ourselves to be conscious of a state in which we were suspended, right? Dealing with these digital artifacts, you get sucked into that time frame, you get really taken into that world beyond the screen, the digital, right? Oh, a mountain, or is it an island, or is it both, right? You have the topography, and this thematically connects to what was being designed earlier. It looked like waves or neurons. The digital artifacts are getting much more sophisticated, three-dimensional. An island, right? Whenever we interact with these digital artifacts, it's like we're islands, or maybe the digital world itself is an island in a sea of reality, or maybe it's the other way around. But then again, we start to realize that the sea of reality, or virtual reality, is actually another block. Now we're floating in space. Ooh, that's a black hole simulation, isn't it? Yeah, I think I've seen it around. It's one of my favorites. And here we go. We're traveling into maybe an alternate universe with our spaceship. And we have beautiful guitar music playing. Guitars, that's the thing. Jeff Buckley said something about electric guitars and how there's a very unique quality, that very unique malleable quality to the sounds that can only be produced by electric guitars, right? I mean, I've misplaced the exact quote in my head, but I used to have it taped up to my wall back when I was first learning guitar. Event Horizon. And this is, again, heart-wrenchingly human in how small this futuristic space shuttle is as it nears the event horizon, that black hole, the arc of just sheer, unimaginable matter, and we confront the particulate nature of our own matter. Is this like the spaghettification thing? Maybe. Well, I mean, it's dramatized. There's sparks flying everywhere and smoke, I guess, gases. And now we're back to the ultra vintage footage of tape reels on spools and the organic music that was juxtaposed with the very glossy high-def 3D rendering from earlier has been replaced with some music from the earlier years of electronic music, the spools, white and red, and now geometric configurations, the 𝚒𝚎 deck of Franz Kafka, which I think has taken over most of modern art. That's a whole other topic, but now we see the interweavings of almost like one of those woven baskets, right? We see fragmented, unplaceable modern landscapes, although I guess that 𝚱𝘭𝘭 guy might disagree with me. But I mean, these are scenes from any generic city now, except they've been modified. They fit together like puzzle pieces that do not belong together, but yet belong nowhere else. That sense of liminality, these floating chords, right, that never find resolution, that characterize that breezy airy quality, a temple desolate, temples to nothing and nowhere. And then we have one of these games, right? This is a 𝚒𝚞𝚝 something, it's a Japanese game where you hunt bears and people. Hot bears, brown bears, and it's just a small pointer clicker game. Like crosshairs. I mean, that's the thing though, like East Asia, I'm in East Asia now, I'm in Korea, but South Korea. But that's the thing, East Asia, Japan, and so on, we're associated with this cyber space kind of aesthetic for some reason. I guess it's the technological element of it, but I mean, the background music juxtaposed with these familiar comfort game sounds, right? The repetitive motion of it, point click, point click. I mean, these characterized our childhoods, right? These games. We have associations with these games that connect to nostalgia and comfort and parents calling us down for dinner and calling friends on the telephone. As different generations might have different associations. I was in the smartphone generation, but for people before smartphones, it might be different. But, you know, even phone games don't have that mouse pointer clicker quality and the urgency with which the beeping continues against this 𝚒𝚗𝚝𝚃 and 𝚕𝚗𝚘 style, ethereal yet haunting yet liminal music that is dissonant and yet reassuring and yet uneasy at the same time. That sense of being suspended and waiting for something without knowing what you're waiting for. Without knowing why you're waiting, where you are waiting. Maybe you're waiting for your parents to call you for dinner. Maybe you're waiting for your friend to give you a call. Or maybe you saw that your friend sent you a message and you're just ignoring it. Allowing yourself to focus on the act of focusing. But there's this sense of urgency at the same time. And of course, at the time, maybe there's a sense of being in the moment, right? And you're not really killing bears. You're not really killing people. Unless, of course, later on you grew up and became a drone operator somewhere. That's a different story. The technology has been training us, as is evident now. Bootleg. Something about bootleg. And it's just, whenever you're on a shared screen software, this is also another thing that I think, for those of us who grew up with digital technology, brings up associations in us. It reminds us of friendship. It reminds us of opening our screens up to people we can trust. And the music continues. Gameplay itself, I never really understood. I mean, gameplay started being really, really big when I was growing up. I never really understood the allure of watching other people play games. But that's all streaming is now. And, you know, nowadays togetherness has largely become characterized by the sense of digital togetherness. Right? It's replaced human connectivity in other ways. If you share your screen with somebody, you trust them implicitly. That's the idea. And in a way, when we watch a cursor click its way across a screen, it gives us a sense of groundedness. It makes us realize that the people on the other side of the screen are human. Ooh, suddenly guitar music again, organic. Not sure if for how long, though, this association with organic music and guitars might continue. What with the simulators and emulators and the artificial intelligence that's threatening to take over everything. I use the word threatening. I don't, but we'll see. And yeah, again, this sense of being at home, of putting on clothes, a digital identity, little dolls in the background. Yeah, even when we don't dress. Oh my god, that's loud. Oh wow. It's like the bass being amplified. It really sort of. It does something. Ooh. Yeah, it booms. It does something. There's something about these AM night. She's off to a party. It's a digital party, but it's a party. And she's dancing the night away. Even when we don't dress up to go out in the real world, we would dress our avatars. In childhood as now, right? I mean, increasingly, that's what we're becoming, our own avatars, in the literal sense of the term. Can't really make out what's being said here. Player zero? Player zero? It's like a hollow voice. Hollow, raspy voice. Monotone. Saying something rhythmically. Sounds like it's whispering and screaming at the same time. Monotone, but also not, right? 𝚎𝚒𝚃𝚗𝚡? Love? Or retail? Can't really make out the words. Five? Numbers? Words? Player. And then we have a sunset with like the sun glare, and then again in faster motion those unremarkable, repetitive, ubiquitous block glitch landscapes, so familiar, so mundane, so precious. And then oh, what is this, a car crash? And then morning light, as if everything is a dream. Overlaid waves. Waves within waves. A smaller screen, I suppose. And then the resolution, the bit frame rates. Again, juxtaposition. The smaller frames, right? And then just the endless car crashes that we saw earlier are brought to mind with like the zipping of horizontal static across the black screen. Static itself has become a relic of the analog televisions, and with the sound of static reminiscent of the sounds of, you know, bugs in grass, in nature. Faux minima. False minima. Okay. Whew. Alright, so this was my initial reaction video of just narrating the thoughts that came into my head as I was watching this with y'all for, I believe, maybe the fifth time. But every time it brings up new associations, new thoughts, new feelings. At first I cried. And, you know, short form content has rotted our brains to the point where it's hard to sit through something without pressing pause and clicking away to something else. But I sat through my watchings of this video nonstop. And I did cry the first couple of times. Hard to express in words, which is why we have music and art, which is why we have this video, and again, the ephemeral nature of this video, the wordless yet full of meaning connotations and symbols and images and emotions that are relayed to us from the creator of this video to us without the mediation of artificial intelligence, but through the tools, right? Through the tools that we, as members of the human race, partaking in this enormous experiment, as we're bound to this train that is speeding towards God knows where, for good or ill, the train of technology, technological progress, of digitization, this new era that we are embarking on a journey towards together. What comes next? We don't know, but what we do know is that the thing that was new is now already the thing of the past. But what's beautiful about this as well is that this is the past of those of us who are currently, like are, as in those of us who currently exist in the world, right? And so when we view these images and we hear this music and we allow ourselves to feel, without blocking or suppressing or repressing the reactions that come to us, we allow ourselves to suspend ourselves in that moment, and in this we are connected and we are human. And we remember hubris. We remember infinitesimally small we are, and yet how valid and precious and significant every moment, every sliver of fiber optic interaction of memory truly is. And in that fleeting glimpse of that sensation of timelessness, of abstraction, of entering the flow state in an alternate universe, this digital world that first opened up to us. We took the first steps. We were the pioneers, guys. Generations later, we will be remembered. In that we will have been forgotten. Or we may be forgotten. What does it mean to truly forget? There are videos like this that really challenge us, right? And I saw also someone was saying, oh, in a couple years, like, someone's gonna make, like, a video essay on this. Well, we're part of history in the making, I suppose. But that's the that's the essay. That's the lesson, I think, that we can really take away from this. Is that even in oblivion, right? I mean, the oblivion into which all of those images fell, right? Even in imperfection, right? Even in the experimental snatches and glimpses of moments, we find a certain eternity in them. We find ourselves as we were conscious in those moments of time. We find reflections of our own interactions with the world through this digital media, through this ever-progressing crush of technological progress and advancement. And in that, we enter into what I think is a higher state of awareness of who we are, what we are, where we are in the world, what this world is, how we connect to it, and ourselves. And that is why I think this is a very beautiful work of art. I don't know what else to say. So I'll close the video here. Please feel free to comment down below in the comment section with your own interpretations of this very interesting video, which hopefully I'll be able to give it a couple more spins until it dies like the rest of us. Like entropy, which we embody. All living sentient beings are subject to the force of entropy, which we have to learn to find peace and beauty within in our fleeting lives, in our very short time on this planet as iterations of something more eternal, or not. But we can find eternity in these glimpses of ourselves and others. And this experience of art is what makes us human. And I feel privileged and honored to be a part of this moment with all of you. By all of you, I mean all of you watching. Now and forevermore, who knows? As well as the creator of this work, as well as everyone who appreciated this work of art. I salute you as one member of humanity, as one soul, eternal or not, to another. See you around. Bye.